Hi everyone, welcome to another quick bite. In this quick bite, we are going to understand how you can create users and assign admin roles. So, your company has recently hired you. So, your name is basically Thor, and this is you. So, you have been hired as an admin, and you are basically a global admin in the Azure environment. Global admin is basically someone who has, I would say, the highest privilege on Azure side. So you can perform anything on the Azure AD part. So you have access to do anything within Azure AD. So you have the highest number of permissions which are attached to the role which is there. So this role is assigned to you. You must create a new user and assign appropriate role to those users. So this is the agenda for you. So your global admin, you need to create new users and assign appropriate roles. So you have a manager whose name is Fury, and they will be furious if you are not able to create the user properly. And a new person in your company has joined, whose name is Batman. I know Marvel and DC doesn't go along very well, but now you have a new person joining in. Let's say Batman is moving away from DC into Marvel, and Batman needs to manage your application. So what you need to do, you need to check if Batman can create an application, and if they're not able to create an application, what you need to do in order for the user to create that application. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to create a new user called Batman, and then we'll see what all things we need to do in order to assign proper roles to this user. So I'll go to my Azure portal, and over here I will basically go to Azure Active Directory. So either you can go to this quick start bar, or you can basically search for Azure Active Directory over here. There are multiple ways to go over here. You can also find it in your favorites, or you can go to all services, and from there you can go to Azure Active Directory, or you can search it under identity, and then you can go to Azure Active Directory. So there are multiple ways to go to the same page. I've already discussed about the UI of Azure portal. So if you are interested, please check out that video as well. Okay. Now, if you see over here on the left hand side, the first thing that I want to do, I want to create a new user called Batman. So I'll go to default directory. Under default directory, I'll go to users. Under users, I'll go to create a new user and create new user. There are some mandatory field like username is required. The name of the user is also required. All of the fields are not mandatory. But there's a field called usage location. If you don't specify this usage location, the license assignment to these users will not work. Why? Because licenses are tied to certain locations. So not all features that you find in Azure are available in all the locations. So what you want to do, you always want to assign a location to user when you're creating the user. So I'm not going to assign a usage location. I'll show you if I try to assign a license to this user, I will not be able to do it. So we are creating a user called Batman. Hey, Batman, and the name of the user is Batman again. Over here, I can define more details, but I'm fine with whatever I have. Either I can create a new password or I can get an auto-generated password. But even if you create a new password over here, you always have to reset the password for the first time you log in. So if I click on this, it tells me what are the things I need to have in a password. Lowercase characters, uppercase characters, numbers starting from 0 to 9, any symbols that are required. So all these things must be there within your password. So let's use the auto-generated password because anyway we need to uh, reset it. So let's go over here and paste it over here. And I'm not keeping the usage location, or I'm not defining a usage location over here. And I'll show you the license error that we get if you don't specify a location. Let's create this user. Let's go back over here. And if I go to licenses, all products, under this I can see Azure Active Directory P2. And let me assign that user a license. Let me try to do it. I should get an error over here. So Batman and select. Now I've selected this user called Batman and I want to assign all these licenses. And if I try to assign it, I should get an error over here. If I click on the error, it gives me more details. License cannot be assigned to user with a usage location not specified. So you don't have a usage location specified. So you cannot assign a license. So in real world, whenever you see this issue, always think of the usage location parameter, which is not filled. You can also copy it over here, and now you can see a detail of the error that you see. You can basically go to Notepad and see the details of the error. It is just mentioning that you need to assign a license before you can create the user. Or you need to assign a usage location because before you assign a license. So let's go to Azure Active Directory again, and let's go to user, and let's go to our Batman user that we created recently. Edit this, and if I go back over here, I can go to usage location, and let's say the usage is location is India. I can click on save. Okay, this is done. Now what I want to do, I want to log in with this user. And to show you the license part, if I go to licenses on the left hand side, click on assignment, I can assign a license over here. And if I save this time I should not see the error. So there are multiple ways to assign the license. You can also assign it from the users blade. You can also assign it from the Azure Active Directory blade over here under licenses. So both ways are fine. So whatever suits you, you can assign a license like this. But usually you'll assign licenses to groups and then you're going to add users to group. You don't assign individual licenses to users. That is not a best practice to follow. So let's go to this Batman user, and what I want to do, I want to log in with this user. So the first task that I wanted to do, I had to create a user called Batman, and then I need to log in with this user. Let's go back over here, copy this user. Let's open a incognito window and search for portal.azure.com. Let's paste in this user, and we have to get the password as well. So the password is this one. Let's copy it from here and paste it. We have to paste the same password again, and then we need to create a new password for the user. So even if you saw the password, you will not be able to log into my account since I have to change the password at every login. So now I'm logged in with my user. It will take a second or two for this user to be logged in. It is asking me to, you should protect your account by adding alternate factors like email or phone numbers. So if you want to set it up, you can set it up, but you can skip it for 14 days at least. Let's log in with this user. It gives me a welcome to Microsoft Azure, and you can start a tour and understand the UI of Microsoft Azure. But I've already created a video. If you want to understand all the uh, panels that you see, search bar and other things, please refer to that video. Let's go back over here, and now I want to go to Azure Active Directory. So this Batman user that you see is a developer who has joined in your company, okay? And what they want to do, they want to create new enterprise applications. So that is the task they want to perform. So if you go back over here, so this user has joined as an enterprise administrator. If I go to enterprise application, and if I see over here, I don't see this new application button. This is graded out for me. Why? Because the appropriate role is not assigned to this user. So the next task that I want to do, I want to assign an appropriate role to this user. So if I go back over here, what are the things we are doing? Let me go to a empty area. So first we create a user called Batman. This user is a app developer. Okay. And you are basically Thor, and your role is global administrator. So what you want to do, you want to create a new user called Batman. And the second thing that you want to do, you want to assign a role called application administrator, app admin. Once this role is assigned to you, you will be able to register or create new enterprise applications. Okay. So this is the all the things that we need to do with this. Now, if I go back to Azure portal, and I can see this is graded out. Let's go back to the admin account that we have. So you can see this is my admin account. Basically, I'm logged in as Thor maybe. And if I go back over here, what I want to do, I want to assign a role to this user. So there are multiple ways to assign a role. So either you can assign role over here directly to an individual user. Usually you're not going to do it. Usually you're going to assign the role to a group as well. And then you're going to add users to a group. That is a better practice that you can follow. So uh, you can see I have already enabled something called as privileged identity management. So if you enable privileged identity management, for that you have to have a license called P2 license. So if you have that license, you can grant access to certain resources or roles for a duration of time. Let's say for 8 hours, the users will be able to log into Azure portal. And after that, they need to present their login details again. And only then they activate their role and they will be able to access the application or things they want to work on. So what I want to do, I want to assign a role to this user, and the role for this user will be application administrator. Application administrator. This is the role I want to assign. I'll click on next. Over here, I can assign a assignment type of eligible or active. Active means the role will be directly assigned to them and it will be remaining active for the duration of time I have uh, assigned over here. So it can be permanently assigned, or you can say it is eligible for certain duration that you define over here. So if I say permanently assign, this is, you don't need to use PIM if you want to permanently assign it. That is not a best practice. What you would want to do, you would want to create an eligible assignment and you can assign the eligibility for a certain duration. Let's say for 1 year, you want to assign this role to this user. There are other features available in Azure AD in order for you to check the access, like access reviews and other things. We can discuss it in a later video. But what you want to do, you want to assign an eligible assignment to the user and you can click on assign. So the role is getting assigned. Once it is assigned, you will see under eligible assignment, the user will be able to see application administrator role over here. Now, if I go back to the other page where I'm logged in with the Batman user, so I'm logged in with this user, I can go to Azure Active Directory again. And under Azure Active Directory, if I go to enterprise application, I will still not see this option available to me. It is still graded out. Why? Because I need to activate my role. So if I go to PIM, privileged identity management, if I go to my roles, under eligible assignment, I can see an application administrator role is assigned to me. So what I want to do, I want to activate this role. Let's click on activate. Once you activate, you need to define or you need to provide some details. These are set by your administrator. So what are the things you will require? You will require a reason. So you would need to provide a justification why you want to activate this role. And let's say this role can be activated for 8 hours. You can go anywhere from, let's say, zero. Obviously, you will not have zero. You will at least go with 4 or 5 hours in order for you to complete the task. So let's say I only need access to this role for 3 hours. So I can go over here and I can define these number of hours. And I will say need to create, or say create new application as an app administrator. So I'm assigning this role and you can see it is, click on activate, and it will take 3 stages for this role to get activated. So it is going to process the request and it is going to activate the role. Then it is going to validate if the activation is successful. And once it is completed, it will refresh in 5 seconds in order for the role to be assigned to my user. So it will take a few seconds for this to work, and then we should be able to see. You'll see within 2 seconds, it's going to refresh the page. And I just need to log in again. And if I go to my roles under active assignment, I should be able to see the application administrator assignment. So if you're done with the task, you can also deactivate your role over here. So this is a best practice that you should follow. This is discussed heavily in AZ 500 as well as SC 300. So all those certification discuss PIM in detail. If you want me to make a video, please write it in the comments and I'll create a video for the same as well. Okay, so once you have activated your role, now what I want to do, I want to register a new application. So I'll go to enterprise applications and I can see a new application button is not graded out for me, and I can create a new application from here, and whatever application I want to create, I can create it from here. So I can create my own application or I can choose the any other application which is available from various third parties. So I can create a new application, I can provide a name, I can fill in the details in order to create the application. So this is how you assign a role and you allow the user to create new applications. If you want to modify the settings of PIM for this user, what you can do, so I'm again logged in with my admin account. So this is my, let's say, Thor account. And if I go back over here, what I want to do, I want to modify the role. So if I go to role set administrators, and under this, I want to go to application administrator. So you saw in the PIM, the role was assigned for certain duration of time, right? If I want to modify those settings, I can go to role settings over here and I can click on edit. And once I edit this role setting, my PIM duration and other things are going to change. You saw that by default, we got around 8 hours of time for us to complete the task. What you can do, you can have this role activated anywhere from half an hour up to 24 hours. These are very important values that you should remember. Uh, Not just for exam perspective, but also for real world perspective as well. So you can define any duration anywhere from half an hour to 24 hours. On activation, when you're activating the rule, do you require MFA? If you choose this, you need to register for the MFA if you're logging in for the first time. If you are already logged in before, you just need to activate the MFA from here. Do you require justification? We saw that we had to provide a justification to activate the rule. So this is where you specify those details. Next, you're specifying the assignment, how many times this assignment will be eligible. You can have it for 1 year or more than that. You can also have a permanent assignment as well. And you can also define notification, where you can define people who are going to get notifications for different things. So whenever a member is eligible or assigned as eligible, you can get a notification in all three over here. Send notification members are assigned to activate this role. So whenever they activate the role, uh, you're going to get a notification when they are assigned on a active mode. If someone is eligible and they activate the role, then these people are going to get the notification over here. So all these notification preferences you can specify, and you can also add your own email addresses separated by semicolon in order for you to send multiple mails out to different people within your company. But you don't want to overdo it, to be honest with you. Usually you are okay with these things. You don't want to get too many signals which are not much relevant to you. You would want to only send emails to people who would want to analyze those emails. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to add too many people in this, because every day, let's say you set the time for 8 hours, you're going to get bombarded with lot of emails. Under assignment, you can also see permanent active assignment, permanent eligible assignment, require MFA on activation, require justification on active assignment. So all these settings you can configure under this roles. So you go to role settings and you can see all of these details. What a user or what a role what are the permission assigned to this role? You can go to description and you can see all of the permission assigned to a specific role. So if a user is assigned to this role, what are the things that they are going to be able to do within this? So you can see all the details under these permissions. So all of these things I think we have already seen. Now what you want to do, so you have assigned this role, so you have created this role and you are able to create a new enterprise application. Now what you want to do, this Batman user has moved out of your organization. They have left your organization, and what you want to do, you want to basically remove their role or revoke their role. Or let's say they have moved into some other department. They were in IT department and now they are not a application developer anymore. So they had a midlife crisis and they basically moved into a marketing role because they were passionate about marketing. So let's say this is their role. The user has moved into a different role. So if you want to remove the role from the user, what are the things you need to do in order to do that? So it is very easy to do. So if you go to your admin account, so I'm going back to my admin account. So let's say this is the Thor admin account. So this is Azure admin, or Thor is basically going over here. And what you need to do, you need to go to Azure Active Directory, go to your users. Under users, you need to go to the user that you have created. And under assigned role, what do you want to do? You want to remove this. So if I click on remove, it is going to be removed from here. And if I go over here, I can also remove the eligible assignment from here. Remove. So if you remove this, this user will no longer have the access to application as an application administrator. Let me refresh this page, and you can see under eligible and active assignment, Batman is no longer assigned over here. So you don't see anything over here. Now if I go back to users, this is one way of doing it. There are multiple ways. Although what you're going to do, you're going to create a new group, and you're going to create, let's say, a security group, and you will say Azure AD roles can be assigned to this group. You're going to select it as yes. And over here, you're going to select owner, members, and roles that you want to assign. So whatever group you're creating, let's say I want to assign a application administrators role. I'll create a security group and name it as app admins. Although you will have a proper naming convention, you don't want to have too many generic names. So you're going to define a proper uh, uh, description as well as the group name as per your company standards. And then you're going to assign some users. So let's say I want to assign Batman for the same. I can select it and I can assign this user. Although I don't want to assign Batman because we have already removed a role for the user. Let's assign some other user. Let's assign this user. Okay. So we want to assign a app admin. So this is a new admin that has joined your organization. And what you want to do, you want to assign them a app administrator role. So you're going to click on create, and it is going to give you a warning that once you create a group with Azure AD roles, you will not be able to modify it. So you'll not be able to change the setting of Azure AD roles. Creating group to Azure AD roles can be assigned is a setting that cannot be changed later. So if you create a group where you can assign a role, then this setting cannot be changed later once the group is created. So I'm fine with this warning. And if I click on yes, a new group will be created for me. And you should be able to see the group over here in a second or two, app admins. And over here, I can go to assign roles, and I can see app administrator or application administrator role is assigned to this entire group. So if I add this any user to this group, they will have this role assigned. Okay, this is strange. Let me assign it again. Okay, maybe it was taking some time for it to get activated, but yes, you can see it over here. So application administrator role is assigned to this group. If any member or any user is added to this group, they will automatically have access to work as an application administrator. Okay, this is all about this. What I want to do now, if I go back to my Batman user, and if I go to Azure Active Directory, and this time if I try to go to enterprise application, okay, it is still showing that I have access to it. So this session, I think it is going to show me the access. No, but if you refresh the page, this is gone. Otherwise, if you see this issue that you're still seeing the application administrator, just log out and log in. Maybe there's some cookies which are stored on this browser. That's why it is showing those details. But now you can see Batman is no longer able to create new applications. So this is all about this entire demo. So what are the things that we did in this specific lab? We created a new user and checked if they are able to create the application or not. They were not able to create an application because they did not have access to app administrator role. Then we assigned them the application administrator role, and we check if they are able to create the application. This time they were able to create the application since they had the role assigned. Then we removed the user assignment for this user, and let's say the user left the organization or they moved to a different department, because of which we need to remove the role for this user. So this also we performed. And this time if we try to create an application, they will not be able to create any application now. So this is all about this lab. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next lab.